Good evening. This is Primetime Weekend News. I'm Sonali Wanigabadage. Well, with general elections scheduled to commence on the 7th of September, campaigning kicked off officially in Australia today with Prime Minister Kevin Rudd and opposition leader Tony Abbott facing off their first televised debate. The News First International Desk has been closely monitoring the run-up to this year's Australian general election, and we will have more details later on in the news. But first, here's a look at tonight's headlines.
Extensive investigations initiated into the unrest in Grand Pass. Security in the area beefed up. Muslim ministers request the president to instruct law enforcement authorities to punish the perpetrators of this anti-national act. A statement from Deputy Minister Chandrasiri Suryarachi on land and police powers.
පළාත් සභාවට පොලිස් බලතල සහ ඉඩම් බලතල දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාව විශේෂයෙන් මතක් කරන්න ඕනේ.
A request from Sarath Fonseca.
පිල්ලා සිටිනවා රණවිරුවන්ගෙන් පොලිස් නිලධාරීන්ගෙන් කවදාවත් ත්‍රස්තවාදීන් දිහාවට අර පුතුක්කු කවදාවත් ජනතාව දිහාවට හරවන්න එපා කියලා.
A challenge from the Janata Vimukti Peramuna.
ඡන්දේ නම් ඡන්දේ කරමු. ගහ ගන්නවා නම් ඒක මේ කොම්පිටි ගම සියලුම දෙනාට කියලා මම මේ පිටණියක් අල්ලලා ගහ ගමු.
Starting off tonight's news, a police curfew has been imposed in the Grand Pass Police Division effective from 6 p.m. today. Police media spokesperson SP Buddhika Sirivardhana said the curfew would remain in effect until 7 a.m. tomorrow. He added that the police request the public to act in a peaceful and orderly fashion. The police added that investigations into the unrest in Grand Pass have been entrusted to the Colombo Crimes Division. Meanwhile, a discussion was held today with the participation of various factions over the unrest that broke out in Grand Pass yesterday. The discussions were held at the Ministry of Buddha Sasana and Religious Affairs.
යුක්ති සහගත විසඳුමකට අපි සියලු දෙනාම එළඹුණා. මොකද මීට කලිනුත් මේ පිළිබඳ එකඟතාවයක් නැති කරගෙන තිබුණා.
We arrived at a just agreement. An agreement had been reached regarding this issue on a prior occasion as well. Accordingly, we will convey this message to our people. The Muslim people will return to the old mosque where they used to engage in worship. There was a bo tree in the vicinity which prevented them from engaging in worship. The tree will be relocated, allowing them to continue with their worship. At the same time, if there has been a breakdown in the peace in the area, then the police will intervene to rectify the matter. The Urban Development Authority had earlier issued an order with regard to the land that the mosque is located on. The Urban Development Authority and His Excellency the President have intervened and decided to provide this land for the mosque. The problem was resolved peacefully and harmoniously.
ඒ පල්ලියටම ලබා දෙන තීරණය කළ තිනවා. යනු ඒ ගැටලුව එතනින් බොහොම සාමකාමීව බොහොම එකමුතුව බොහොම සමගියෙන් අවසන් වුණා.
ගැටලුව විසඳා ගැනීමට ගෞරවනීය මහා
Members of the Mahasangha and the Muslim clergy expressing their agreement to resolve the problem peacefully is a very good example. This is the path to resolve conflicts of this nature. Both factions discussed the facts here and the discussion was extremely successful. His Excellency the President ordered us to hold this discussion and we convened in accordance with his instructions. Ministers Rauf Hakim, Fauzi, Champika Ranawaka, Rishad Bathiuddin, Gamman Pillar, Hizbullah and MP Ravi Karunanayaka participated in this discussion. Provincial councillors and municipal councillors also participated in the discussions. The Ministry Secretary, the Inspector General of Police, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, our former MP and others discussed the matter and arrived at a good resolution.
මේ කටයුතු ඉතාම හොඳින් විසඳුමකට පැමිණීමට
අද අපට මෙතනට ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ආරාධනා නොකරත් ජනතාවගේ ඉල්ලීම
Even though the government did not invite us as per the request of the people, we came here and carried out the task of the opposition. Both factions discussed the matter and arrived at a resolution. We put forward our views as well. The Thera from Kalutara, the Maulavi of the mosque and the trustees arrived at a just solution at this instance. Because there was a breakdown in trust, we were able to put forward the views of the opposition as well towards rebuilding this trust, and we have shown how we can move forward with the Sri Lankan identity. We are happy. Even though we were not invited, after we arrived here, our views were also considered and we were able to rectify the problem.
ආවට පස්සේ අපේ අදහස් උතරගෙන මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ निराකරණය කරන්න පුළුවන් හැකියාව ඇති වුණා.
The tense situation broke out between two groups near the Koskas junction on Swarna Chaitya Road in Grand Pass last evening.
In order to control the unrest, a police curfew was imposed in areas coming under the purview of the Grand Pass Police Division. Curfew was lifted at 7 a.m. today. 7 persons were injured in the incidents. Several buildings on Swarna Chaitya Road were also damaged in the unrest that broke out last evening. The police say that police and police special task force personnel have been deployed to beef up security in the area. Minister of Industry and Commerce Rishad Batudeen also visited the area today.
The President brought about peace and brought about an environment where everyone, Sinhalese, Tamils and Muslims could live in peace. But when looking at this incident, we are saddened. We must live without ethnic divisions of being Sinhalese or Tamil or Muslim. Our rights have been constitutionally guaranteed. All those who are involved in incidents like this must be punished. The other factor is that while an incident like this was taking place, the police simply looked on. Action must be taken against those in the police who allowed this.
Meanwhile, the Inter-Religious Alliance for National Unity convened a media briefing today.
The problem in this country can be resolved peacefully. We have the opportunity to resolve every problem that crops up through discussion. Thereby, all religious persons have come forward today to work together. Conspirators who cannot bear this are the ones who create various problems and destroy religious harmony and are following various programs to create divisions between communities. Various conspiratorial forces are trying to create a singular Muslim conflict. From time to time, they try to create religious and ethnic conflict within the country. We cannot allow for this to happen in this country. Lord Buddha, Prophet Muhammad, Jesus Christ and Siva Peruman of the Hindu religion have never said to harass followers of other faiths. Conflict is natural. If we think about it, my views may be different to the views held by our brothers in the media who are here. His views may be different to mine, but we must all live together. We must all cooperate. I think that creating conflicts and aggravating it to a violent level is an act of treason against the country, whether it is committed by a Sinhalese, a Tamil or a Muslim. If we try to create conflicts and take part in violent actions, then we will become enemies of the motherland. The incident that occurred in Colombo yesterday was saddening to all those who have a good heart. The Lord will ensure that incidents like this do not occur again. The peace that has been brought forth in this nation can only be protected if everyone comes forward to uphold it. It is disappointing that certain groups are trying to tarnish the country's reputation through such incidents. A place of worship is a sacred ground to all people.
Now, issuing a joint statement, the Muslim ministers of the government of Sri Lanka expressed their unequivocal and unreserved condemnation of the premeditated and planned attack on an Islamic place of worship in Grand Pass Colombo 14. The joint statement, bearing the signatures of Senior Minister A.H.M. Fauzi, Minister Rauf Hakim, Rishad Batudeen, A.L.M. Ataullah and Bashir Segudawud, and Deputy Ministers M.L.M. Hizbullah, Faiza Mustafa and A.R.M. Abdul Qadir.
In the joint statement, the signatories as Muslim ministers of the cabinet of President Mahinda Rajapaksa in their collective representation urged the head of state to immediately conduct an independent investigation into the act of violence inflicted on a peaceful congregation of devotees assembled in the sacred sanctuary of a mosque. The statement reads, quote, "We earnestly implore upon your excellency to instruct the law enforcement authorities to apprehend and punish the perpetrators of this anti-national act," unquote. The ministers add that the notion that there are elements in our society who can act with impunity should be totally eradicated from the public perception that has now taken root in our society. In their collective appeal, the signatories urged the President and the government to take decisive action to halt this trend of openly espousing religious hatred towards the Muslim community. They note that the defeat of terrorism and the end of the war should pave the way towards peace and prosperity for all citizens, and it should not be construed as an opportunity to establish the hegemony of one single group of people. While urging the President and the government to take urgent measures to pay compensation to the affected victims, the signatories urged the establishment of a credible institutional mechanism that would ensure inter-religious harmony. The statement concludes by urging the President and the most venerable chief prelates to take appropriate action to halt mob violence and zealotry.
Meanwhile, issuing a communique, the US Embassy in Colombo says it is concerned by the attack on the mosque in Grand Pass.
While urging calm from all sides, the US Embassy in Colombo notes that targeting any place of worship should never be permitted. The US Embassy calls for the prosecution of perpetrators in this attack and an end to religious-based violence. The embassy notes that this incident is particularly troubling in light of a number of recent attacks against the Muslim community in Sri Lanka. The communique concludes by noting that the right of all Sri Lankans to practice the religion of their choice should be protected.
On tonight's developing story, the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission has decided to make inquiries from civil society organizations in the Ratupaswala area and from members of the clergy regarding the drinking water problem in the area. The SLHRC's legal secretary, Attorney at Law Nimal Punjiheva, said that these persons would be called to the commission next week. Prior to this, representatives of a number of state institutions appeared before the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission to make submissions regarding the water problem in Ratupaswala and the subsequent public unrest in Valiveria. Attorney at Law Nimal Punjiheva said that after making inquiries from several factions, investigations into the unrest are still underway. He added that investigative officers of the SLHRC had been assigned to the task. Meanwhile, the drinking water problem in Ratupaswala and the unrest in Valiveria came up during separate media briefings and meetings convened yesterday and today.
Today the situation in the country is such that the people cannot demand their rights. We saw what transpired in Valiveria recently. When the people asked for water, the innocent people and school children were shot at and destroyed like they were animals. Lives were lost. Back then we used to carry out our duties with war heroes. When I was in office, a war hero never pointed his weapon in the wrong direction. Today the respect of war heroes is being destroyed. They cannot pass the blame on to regular soldiers and escape this. We asked the war heroes and the police never to turn the weapons that were pointed at terrorists on the people.
There is a program to militarize Sri Lanka. It is happening in the north and in the east. It is also happening in the south. The army is being deployed for everything. When people take to the streets demanding water, it is the army that comes. Buildings are being put up by the army. Roads are being cleaned by the army. Army officers are being appointed as the heads of a number of state institutions. This militarization must cease. Civil administration must be affirmed. The police service must be taken away from the Ministry of Defence. The army has its own duties. They should not interfere in civil affairs. But the police is a civil institution. Thereby, the police, which is a civil institution, must be removed from the Ministry of Defence and established within a separate ministry.
JVP Politburo member Anura Kumara Disanayake charges that the government is engaged in an attempt to brush certain issues under the carpet.
The government is now trying to create various other demons in our country at present. What happened yesterday? Curfew was imposed in Grand Pass. This was done for the government to brush all the other problems under the carpet. The situation in Valiveria is not positive for the government. Therefore, they need to belittle it. Thereby, the government needs a new bioscope. It is a bioscope that the government brought about in Grand Pass yesterday. Therefore, we need to understand the situation in the country. The people of this country should not be tricked by this.